I'm going to address these most recent comments from little Timmy, and then I'm going to block him from my YouTube channel. So he says at the top here, weird how on my Facebook it's me surrounded by loved ones and we all look happy. Yet yours shows a much sadder, darker life. P.S. I message you every holiday to make sure you haven't done what your mother is so afraid you will do. Go to therapy, you narcissist woman child. Dave Frank will never respond to you, not because he's a pedo, but because you're what we call a practice girl, and practice girls who stay on the bench past 30 stay on the bench. All right, well, let's break this one down real quick. First of all, I don't care what's on your Facebook page. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's edited by you. It's not quite edited, it's curated. Your Facebook page is curated by you. So of course you're only putting happy looking photos of yourself up there, and you're not, I'm sure you have your down times, jerk off. But you're not putting any of that up there. And I don't see how my Facebook page shows a sadder, darker life other than to show that I actively attempt to expose pedophile networks. That is kind of a bit of a sad, dark side of my life. It's unfortunate that most people don't want to deal with such a thing, because that's one of the reasons why these people, pedophiles get away with this, is people don't put themselves in these darker, sadder situations in order to fight evil. So other than that, I mean, like, there are pictures of me holding little baby chicks. There are pictures of me hanging out with my nieces and nephews and my sisters and at the movies with my entire extended family. And, there are pictures of artwork that I make. There are pictures of me hanging out with friends at concerts, in Philadelphia. So what are you talking about? And I have way more pictures on there than you do. You have a handful of pictures from what I saw. So yeah, yours is your Facebook page is highly curated. It shows very little of your life except a small window of, look at me and my happy family. So you're not really being fully honest and upfront about yourself or your family, your life with the public. You're just putting up there the stuff that looks good. So who gives a shit what your Facebook shows in comparison to my Facebook? So, P.S. I message you every holiday to make sure you haven't done what your mother is so afraid you will do. First of all, no, you do not message me every holiday. And I already showed that in the previous video when I scrolled through messages from you on Facebook, and you skipped like a couple of years there. So you didn't message me every single holiday. You just started out of the blue messaging me again. After you'd stopped for about 2 years. And how would you know what my mother is afraid of? My mom, for the most part, doesn't give a shit. Honestly, I think that she wants me to die at this point. She's angry I had her arrested because she violated a TRO, temporary restraining order, that I had against her. She just brought that up again today and acted like it was all my fault. It's like, and I said to her, no, you got arrested because your dumbass thought that you were above the law and you violated a TRO that I had against you. How is this my fault? She doesn't take responsibility for anything. So she, and like everything bad that happens to her is something that someone else did to her. It's not something that she brought upon herself in any way. Even I can understand, even I can admit, like, well, I mean, if I'm going to take on a pedophile network, I knew it getting into this, that they're probably going to not like that. And they're probably going to respond in some ways that I won't really care for. But here's the thing is, like, I'm in the right. I'm legally in the right. Where pedophilia, having sex with children is illegal. It's a violation of human rights, and it's supposed to be stopped wherever you see it happening or suspect that it's happening. So I'm in the right there. And honestly, if they had any honor whatsoever or maturity, they would turn themselves in and go sit in prison cells. But because they're pathetic little baby boys and girls, they lash back at me secretly, which is what Zay Frank does. So getting into something else you said here, Zay Frank will never respond to you. Yes, he has been responding to me, just in secret, veiled kind of ways. He's been sending messages through his videos to me in response to things that I've said to him or about him in my own videos. And I've made videos pointing out, the quote unquote coincidences in what I post in my videos and then what he follows up and posts in his videos. And the fact that, it's beyond coincidence. So for example, I posted a video roughly around the spring showing the six cats that I take care of and feed. And then his next video, he has an image of 6 cats. It's the advertising part of his video. The video that follows my posting that video to my YouTube channel. He has his next video shows in the advertisement section where he's talking about his sponsor. He shows a picture of it's 6 different cat images. So it's stuff like that. That's one example. It's not the only example. It's one example of me pointing out all the ways in which Zay Frank, he actually does respond to me. He just responds in such a way that morons like yourself wouldn't understand. It goes over your head. You don't notice how he's responding to me. Not because he's a pedo. Yes, he is. Or even if he's not a pedophile, because keep in mind, again, I've said this in the past, I'll say it again right now, about half of all sexual child abusers are not actually pedophiles. They are not actually sexually attracted to children, but they still sexually abuse children because they are personality disordered, and it gives them a sense of power to do such a thing. But also, if you were born into a cult that practices incest, whether you're attracted to children or not, you're probably going, if for generations your family has practiced parents having sex with children, the chances of you continuing that ritualized tradition are very high. Whether you are attracted to children or not, you're probably going to do what your parents did to you. Most people do what their parents did to them, even if it didn't involve any kind of sexual anything. Most people end up disciplining their children the same way they were disciplined. They end up feeding their children the same things they were fed. There are exceptions to this rule, but the overall trend is most people do what their parents did to them. So if you were born into a family that's part of a cult that commits incest with their own children, the chances of you being clearly the chances of Zay Frank being strong enough to break away from that sick practice are 0 to none. He's not doing it. He's not breaking away from the sick traditions that are passed down in his family. He's not strong enough to do that. Sad. So, and it's also a part of their belief system, right? So to embody the full spectrum of good and bad, it's to be the Jedi and the Sith at the same time. So it's to do extraordinarily benevolent things. What's the word I'm looking for? Philanthropic things, to be very kind and understanding, but then also to turn around and do the worst things you can do. And I've already said this in the past, the worst thing you can do is to rape your own child. It's absolutely the worst thing you can do. So that's what these people are doing, in my opinion. From what I've seen, what I suspect is that they are trying to embrace and embody the full spectrum of good and evil. So that means committing incest with your own children. You have to embrace the full end of the evil spectrum. So him being a pedo, it doesn't necessarily matter. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's not, again, having inappropriate sexual relationships with kids and his own kids. He is responding to me. He's just doing it in such a way that's so tricky and crafty that it goes right over the heads of morons like yourself, Timmy. But because you're what we call a practice girl, and practice girls who stay on the bench past 30 stay on the bench. Well, first of all, Wasn't your wife a practice girl? Didn't Dan work his way through her pretty quick? And I think I recall, from what I recall, didn't you marry her after she turned 30? When did you marry Sarah, Timmy? Was she under 30? I don't think she was. I think you married her after she turned 30. She's what, like 3 to 5 years older than me, and I just turned 40. And you guys have been married for what, maybe 15 to 18 years or something like that. Your kids are not her kids, right? Like, so she helped raise them, even though, and they look like they're probably in their like late teens, early 20s. So at most, you've probably been with Sarah for like 15 years, maybe something like that, which would mean you got together with her after she turned 30, or right around her being 30. Come on, tell the truth. Well, you're not going to have a chance to. I'm going to block you after this. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't marry Sarah until after she was 30 years old. Also, if I'm a practice girl, if Dan was using me to practice, which practice girls, for those of you who don't know, is like, a girl that a guy gets with and sleeps with, not because he's necessarily sexually attracted to her. He's using her to practice for another woman. Here's the thing, and quite often to practice his sexual moves with another woman. And it's like, dude, if that's the case, he did not improve at all. There was no improvement during the course of our 4 years of being together. He was so vanilla and bad in bed. And he was just as bad at the end of our relationship as he was at the beginning of our relationship. Like, I'm the one who had to spice it up in any kind of way, and I'm not even that spicy, but I added whatever spice there was. I'm the one who added it, like not just doing missionary. So he had zero, yeah. And I do think some of that is because, you're right, he probably wasn't that sexually attracted to me, but I think that's also because he has a pedophilic mindset. He has the psychology of a pedophile, which comes along with the psychology of Norman Bates, which is an inappropriate, sick relationship with your mother. I don't think I'm not saying he had sex with his mother. I think that I've said this in the past in a few videos. His mother clearly raised him to be her little husband, and she allowed him to live in her basement until she died when he was like 41 years old. Okay. So that's all kinds of there are all kinds of psychological problems between Dan and his mother, even though those two were too stupid to be aware of it. This was seconded, though, by an actual licensed relationship counselor. Once I pointed out to him all the stuff going on, between Dan and his mom, like how his mom needed Dan around to like emotionally comfort her. And that's not okay for you to expect your son to take time out of his life and his day to come and cheer you up and make you feel better. She had a boyfriend living with her. So it's like, yeah, anyway. But the psychology of that guy, that, Norman Bates type guy who hates his mother, goes hand in hand with the psychology of a guy who is sexually attracted to children. So I'm sure that I didn't really turn Dan on that much, because Dan, I'm fairly certain now, is attracted to much, 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 much younger females or males or, children, basically. That's my opinion based on 4 years of being in a relationship with him and living with he and his mother for 6 months after my daughter passed away. Right. And observing that whole thing, and observing. Oh, also, he has fantasies about being a woman, having sex with a woman. So there's a whole, go read about it. Go read about the implications of that kind of guy. Guys who want to be a woman having sexual relationship with another woman. Because I've found lots of his porn, and it was all woman on woman stuff. Like, there was no dick involved. And here's the thing is, like, if a guy, for those of you out there who are like, well, of course, because he wants multiple women and stuff, it's like, no, because then you would have at least one dick in there, because that dick is supposed to represent your dick, like doing all that stuff that you want to do to women. If it's just two women, like when you watch pornography, typically there has to be someone in the pornography that represents you, that you are sort of vicariously, living through. You're imagining you are that person in that bit of pornography. And so if a guy is watching pornography that's just woman on woman and there's no dick involved, he is almost certainly imagining that he is one of the women. So please do go and look into the psychology behind guys who, their sexual orientation is actually they wish that they were a woman in bed with another woman. That also goes hand in hand with the Norman Bates thing because he kind of hates his mom, but he wants to be his mom. That's why Norman Bates dressed up in his mother's clothing and went around murdering women, stabbing them with a knife, which is a sexual symbol, stabbing with a knife, invading her with his appendage. You get it? So Dan, and again, I can tell you right now, Dan had a lot of pornography that was just woman on woman and there were no males, none whatsoever. So I know, I'm a typical heterosexual woman. I can't watch two dudes. Like as much as I am attracted to dudes, pornography where it's just two guys going at it with each other is not fun for me because there's no woman in there to represent me. I can, however, watch pornography where it's two guys and a woman. I like that. That turns me on. But if it's just two guys, that's not fun for me. Where's the person representing me in there? And I don't want to be a guy. So it's not, it's not fun. I like being a woman. It's not fun for me to watch, gay porn. I did read gay porn in high school, but it was not so much about the pornography as it was about the romance. And that stuff was is catered actually more to women because it's all romantic and stuff. So, and I read it. I didn't watch it. It was really reading a romance novel, but it was between two men rather than a female and a man. But yeah, when it comes to watching pornography, typically not typically, just across the board, every time there has to be somebody in there that represents you. And so if there isn't somebody in there that's your gender, it suggests that you wish or you fantasize about being the opposite gender and having a homosexual relationship. So that's just tell you a lot about Dan right there. He's got the Norman Bates complex psychology. He's got the psychology of someone who wishes he was a woman on some level. And that goes hand in hand with the psychology of somebody who is attracted to children. And unfortunately I have a track record of that racetrack, whatever. I have a track record of attracting dudes. That one dude that I dated for better part of a year back in my mid-20s was actually caught with child pornography and served time about a year after I broke up with him. I heard through the grapevine. And I broke up with him because there was no sexual anything going on. We really wound up just being more like friends. And yeah. So unfortunately, I have a bit of a history of attracting guys who have cluster B personality disorders. They're highly narcissistic, that have very unhealthy relationships with their mothers, that have a pedophilic psychology. And you should keep this all in mind with the fact that you keep on harassing me. You keep coming back to bother me on my social media platforms. All right. Plenty of girls out there get married after the age of 30. So plenty of women get married after the age of 30. So that's just ridiculous and stupid. And, if that's the case, then your wifey was a practice girl. And dudes should be careful about using women as practice girls because hell hath no fury, right, Zay? So let's move on to the next comment. LOL. Yes, I am a member of a secret societies. Dude, you really, and you misspelled practice. You really are terrible at spelling. So thank you for confirming that, though, that you said you're a member of secret societies. Either it's true and what I suspect of you is correct, or you're just, again, blatantly lying. on my YouTube channel. Either way, it makes you untrustworthy, in my opinion, because I've already connected this network of child traffickers to secret societies such as Freemasonry and Ordo Templi Orientis and Shriners. Zay Frank's family member, at least one family member I found, publicly a published article that, a grandfather or something of his was a Shriner. Also, again, like the symbols he references, like the Abrasics, that is connected with Freemasonry. In fact, I was just working on that in the video I'm making about Zay Frank. There are Facebook pages for Freemasonry lodges that have posts talking about the Abrasics and what the Abrasics mean. So, there's a lot of connections between Zay Frank and secret societies. And there's a lot written out there. Books are written about kids who were raised in Freemasonry families that were taken out to rituals and stuff, and they were raped by their own parents. So like there's published work out there talking about pedophilia, child abuse, ritual child abuse, and incest taking place within certain inner circles of secret societies like the Freemasons. So the fact that you're saying that you're a member of a secret society makes me distrust you, or you're lying, which makes me distrust you either way. Also, 5 minutes after you uploaded this, you made a video crying about why Zay Frank won't love you. No, I didn't. First of all, I made the video addressed to Zay Frank before I made the video about you. And I was not crying about why Zay Frank won't love me. I was basically telling Zay Frank that I don't have any feelings of love towards him anymore. Because he's a piece of trash. Who was doing flirty fishing is what it's called. I believe it's called flirty fishing. It's when you're trying to be flirty with somebody in order to fish. This is actually something that's used to bring people into cults all the time. Is they send people out into society to hook other members in usually with some kind of a romantic relationship or a sexual relationship. So they'll go and one established member will go out and start sexual relationship with this person and then bring that person into the cult fold. So it was never about, him actually liking me, for me, or anything like that. It was about him trying to get me to join his little creepy cult that practices incest, and get me to shut up about the incest and trying to expose them publicly. He had no actual interest in me. And I put him to that test over this past year, and he repeatedly proved to me what I suspected. He was being very flirty in his little messages towards me last year that were in his videos, and acting like he was actually interested in me, but he was not. He just wanted me to shut up about him and his family and the incest. So no, Zay Frank never loved me. Right. And I don't think at this point, I never really loved him. I don't really know him. It's just as much as what he projected of himself and what I surmised from the information I gathered about him. But I don't know him well enough. Really, I don't know him personally. So the love or in love thing was it was really one-sided, and it needed to stop. So it's a blessing that he finally posted the tick video and made it clear that I suspect that was just to try and push me over the edge, because he knew I was in sort of a really low state of mind and I think he was hoping I would commit suicide or something. It's like, dude, if I didn't do it after I lost my baby girl, went through all that horrible shit, I'm definitely not going to do it just because you're comparing me to a tick. You're an idiot. Like, for someone who everyone thinks is a genius, you are the dumbest cunt. Anyway, so let's move on to the next little one here. LOL, I haven't had a drink in 8 years. Good for you, if that's true. But, again, so far I think I've already pointed out how you're a big fat liar. I've had the same job for 14 years. Sitting around your ass, holding your dick, and playing video games doesn't count as a job, but, whatever. And both of my children have moved out and live on their own. Again, the spelling is so atrocious. There should be Their, not there. As in, I'm not going to explain the differences between the three theirs, but it's just so... I'm not going to get into it because you're older than me and you should know better, you idiot. Go back to school. That's one of my pet peeves. I'm able to overlook a lot of misspellings, but when people use the wrong there, that bothers the shit out of me. Because it completely changes the meaning of the sentence. I don't mind if you misspelled the word practice, because I know that you mean the word practice, but you used an S instead of a C. But there are three different theirs. THERE, that means, you're going over there. There, that place there. I put this there. That's what THERE there means. I guess I'm going to explain the theirs. There, as in their coat, their dog, their lives, their apartments, is THEIR. And then there, as in they are going to the movies, or they're going to the movies, is THEY apostrophe RE, because you're shortening it from they are to there. You're getting rid of the A, essentially. Oh my goodness. I see it all the time, and it bothers the shit out of me. And if you don't use the right there, you're basically changing the whole meaning of the sentence. Learn good grammar. Go back to school. What is your job? If you've had the same job for 14 years, what are you doing? Are you working in a trash dump? That's the only thing I can imagine that you qualify for with your inability to spell. They live their own happy lives. Something else I want to point out here is I mentioned in this video that you commented on. I mentioned in this video that you would think that since you have two daughters, that you would be more respectful of the fact that I'm working on exposing, not trying. I'm getting away from using the word trying. So I'm working on exposing a network of pedophiles. And I said, you would think that you would be more respectful of that and not want to waste my time and energy, considering you have two daughters, unless, of course, you are a member of this cult, considering you've said right already that you're a member of a secret society. And you've actually diddled your own children. Note, guys, how he is not denying that. He's saying they live their own live, happy lives. Their own life, own and live, live happy lives. Okay. They live on their own and live happy lives. That's not a denial of you sexually abusing them as kids or anything like that, or any acts of incest that might have happened, or you involving them in any secret society, sick sex rituals. That's not a denial of that, is it? And then the last comment right here. You have public pages, you psycho. Yes, you're right. I have my Facebook page is public for the most part. I think it's public. That doesn't mean that you have to continue to harass me on Facebook. That doesn't mean you have to. So, for example, you're not the only person who's contacted me on Facebook that I didn't want to know or be friends with or talk to. And I didn't have to nearly as harshly or bluntly tell them to just go away and leave me alone. Right? All I had to do was, for the most part, in a kind manner, suggest to them that I'm really not interested in any kind of long-term friendships or anything. I think every girl out there with a Facebook page has gotten a friend's request from some guy in like Botswana or whatever. It's like, dude, I don't know you. I'm probably never going to meet you. You live on the other side of the world. I have enough friends in my friend circle. I'm not interested in getting to know somebody that I'm probably never going to meet, and in all honesty, is probably hoping that this will turn into some long distance relationship that will get him a green card eventually. No, thank you. Like, I don't, and I didn't even put it that way. I just had to, say something along the lines of, thank you for your interest, but I'm not really looking for new friends right now. And that was enough to make them go away and leave me be, right? That was enough to make them just stop bothering me on my Facebook page. Just because my page is public does not mean you have to continuously harass me through my page. Where is it written that just because, there are lots of women out there that have public Facebook pages. Why don't you go harass them? All right. So your reasoning here is not, and you spelled psycho wrong. Your reasoning here is juvenile at best. It doesn't exist at worst. Like, you have no good reason to continue to try and be in contact with me over any of my social media platforms. I've repeatedly asked you to leave me be and stay off my social media. Stop harassing me. All you do is waste time and energy. All you do is mislead any actual viewers. You're just a nuisance, and you're the tick. Honestly, you're a little parasite. It's gross. Yeah, there's nothing written that just because I have a public platform, public social media platforms, and channels, pages. There's nothing that says that means you have to continue harassing me on them. You're doing it because you're pathetic. And you don't seem to understand a woman flat out blatantly telling you, go away, don't come back. Leave me be. I'm not interested in you. I will never be interested in you. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to be anything with you. I want you to be out of my life forever and ever. I'd like to forget that you exist for the rest of my life. That's what I would like. Please make that happen by just simply not coming on my social media anymore. All right? And just so let's do this. Ready? No, I don't want to do that. Oops. So we're going to, hide from channel. All righty. This is going to get rid of all of your comments. So bye, little Timmy. Yes, hide user. Get lost. Is this going to hide from channel? Am I going to have to do this with all of them? Last time I did this with somebody, it got rid of all of their comments on my channel. There we go. I think that there's something else I have to do to block you. Yeah, there's like a list that I have to add your name to, which I will do. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, ending this video and uploading it. And goodbye, little Timmy. Go find someone else to badger. You're annoying.